What is up, Janksters? It's your boy Graham, also known as HamHawks42 on the internet, and today we have an Explorer deck that is all built around Syr Konrad the Grim. The goal of this card is, well, the goal of this card specifically is to mill. That's really what it's all about. We want to be milling creatures into our graveyard and pinging our opponent for those. We also get additional pings whenever a creature leaves our graveyard, which is nice. We have a couple ways to take advantage of that, and whenever a creature dies, which, to be honest, hopefully we're not going to be doing too much, but a couple of those might be the difference between victory and defeat. So that's great. Konrad, by the way, is an uncommon from Throne of Eldraine to give you an idea of just how busted that set was, because this thing is insane. So I like that. The primary methods by which we're going to be milling ourselves, we have Cut Your Losses. Well, this is a 2 of in the main deck. We do have one in the sideboard as well, which we'll get to. This says target player mills half their library rounded down, and it has casualty 2, meaning that we can sacrifice a creature with power 2 or greater, and we can copy the spell. Cool part about it is when we copy the spell targeting ourselves again, that's probably going to be win more in most situations because of the sheer value that we're going to be able to set up here. But it may be necessary, especially if we're going up against a life gain opponent. So that's nice. We also have Angel of Suffering. If damage would be dealt to you, you prevent the damage and you mill twice that many cards. Now, if our opponent is running Bone Crusher Giant or Questing Beast, these cards that prevent damage prevention, we're kind of in a rough bind with Angel of Suffering because we get hit for the damage and then we mill the cards. But we do still mill the cards, so that's nice. That's valuable. But that, we want the damage to be prevented. In certain situations, if we're going up against, say, Winota or like elves or goblins, if they don't have a way to remove the Angel of Suffering, they are going to be feeding our plan by doing what they want to do by attacking into us, which is great. Because if we can get Angel of Suffering and Syr Konrad online and then they attack us for like 20 damage, we mill 40 cards and we get Konrad pings for every single creature we mill. It's beautiful. There's nothing quite like getting lethal on your opponent because they attacked you. It feels fantastic. And yeah, an Angel of Suffering allows that to happen. Also, as we're talking about all this mill action, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that we have 4 Gaea's Blessings in the main deck here. We have 4 of them specifically because they are critical. We need to make sure that we hit one of these not every time we mill, but every time we have a sizable mill, like Cut Your Losses or a big Angel of Suffering hit, we want to make sure that we Gaea's Blessing and shuffle those cards back into our library. Part of the reason for that is because it triggers them on Konrad twice, which is awesome. So every time a creature gets milled into our graveyard, we then ping our opponent, and then if Gaea's Blessing was part of that mill, then the creatures leave our graveyard by going back into the library. Additional Konrad pings ensue, life is good. And frankly, we don't want to mill out. We're going to be milling a lot, and we really don't want to mill out. So the other important detail to note is we need a lot of creatures, because when we're milling, we only get the Konrad value if we're milling creatures. So naturally we have 4 Konrads, we have 4 Angel of Sufferings, we also have Brazen Borrower and Murderous Rider. These are both, I mean, we're kind of cheating a little bit because they are creatures on their card, but they have spells that are key removal pieces, which are going to be great, again, against cards like Winota. Being able to bounce a Winota on turn 4 or just straight up kill it with a Murderous Rider before attacks are declared can really shut that deck down, and that's exactly what we need to do in order to buy some time and set up our combo pieces. Same is true with Greasefang. Being able to knock out a Greasefang or bounce it up before they have an opportunity to pull Parhelion out of the graveyard, very, very, very important. And Murderous Rider and Brazen Borrower do potentially give us that opportunity. So that's why we have those in there. We also have Egon, God of Death. This is, again, kind of cheating a little bit because on its front face, it is a creature, but on its back, it is the Throne of Death, which is a legendary artifact for 1 black. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, you mill a card, and you can pay 2 and a black, exile a creature card from your graveyard to draw a card. Now, we have a lot of creature cards going into our graveyard, so if we just need to fill our hand and draw into some gas, Throne of Death can help us get there. This is also going to be milling cards. If we do have Konrad online, we have an opportunity to take advantage of that. Also, this pulls creatures out of our graveyard, so that's Konrad pings as well. It's just a lot of synergy. And if we have a lot of cards in our graveyard, Egon provides a 6/6 Death Toucher for 3. Now, at the beginning of your upkeep, you do have to exile 2 cards from your graveyard, and if you can't, you sacrifice Egon and draw a card. So we're not going to be relying on Egon as a body most of the time. However, if we do have a graveyard stocked and loaded, and we haven't hit a Gaea's Blessing, which does eradicate the graveyard, we can put Egon down and actually get a couple swings in with him to deal some damage prior to getting our engine online. And if nothing else, Egon is a phenomenal blocker. Dude's absolutely huge, so he rarely dies in combat, and he has Death Touch. So if we are somehow going up against something like, say, a Galta for some reason, we can absorb 6 of the trample damage and then kill Galta. That's great. You love to see it. So Egon is a really cool card that does some cool things in here. And again, it's actually a 1-drop. Like, it's a sneaky 1-drop artifact disguised as a creature. You love to see it. We also have Malevolent Hermit as a 3-of. This is a good way to shut down control decks specifically. It's very nice against that. Being able to prevent, being able to shut down like 4-drop Planeswalkers or 4-drop Sagas, that kind of thing, can be really valuable. And it oftentimes will prevent your opponent from playing out non-creature spells, which is because they know you can just crack the Hermit and counter it. And if they're not playing it, it's not hitting the board. So Hermit's doing his job either way. I really enjoy the design of Malevolent Hermit. And again, it's a creature, and it also has the Disturb ability, which can put a 2/2 flyer on board that can block for us. It can also deal some relevant damage, and non-creature spells you control can't be countered. Now, that's it's pretty minimal. You know, most of our spells are creatures, so the Benevolent Geist's static ability is not something that we're going to be leaning on too heavily, but you never know. It could be valuable. If we do have Konrad online and we just need to get a Cut Your Losses to fire against a control deck, the Benevolent Geist can help kind of set up the screen and make that possible. So that's cool. We also have Fey of Wishes. Fey of Wishes is a very cool card. I'm a fan, to say the least. And Fey of Wishes is cool for a number of different reasons. Not the least of which, it's a 1/4 flyer for 2. It's just a good blocker. A lot of the time, I would just throw this out on turn 2 just to have a blocking body to soak up some damage that would otherwise be coming in through to our face against more aggressive decks, of which there are a lot in the meta right now. So Fey of Wishes is great for that. And if we get it later in the game, we can use its granted ability, that sorcery, to reveal a non-creature card you own from outside the game and put it into our hand. Now, unfortunately, Konrad is a creature spell, so Fey of Wishes cannot wish up Konrad, hence 4 in the main, none in the side. However, we do have a Cut Your Losses in the sideboard. And the reason that we have a Cut Your Losses in the sideboard is because it is the primary, it's the primary combo piece that we need late in the game. If we get Konrad into a Cut Your Losses, we basically win, is really what it comes down to. Now, that is a 5-drop and a 6-drop. So as you can see, we have a lot of control elements because we need to buy time. Now, that said, if Konrad is nowhere to be seen, if we've been playing out this game and we just cannot get to Syr Konrad, but we have a Cut Your Losses in hand, one thing that we can do, and the ability to casualty it, plan B is actually to sacrifice, say, a Murderous Rider or a Brazen Borrower, or even Egon if we don't want to be eating our graveyard anymore, to a Cut Your Losses, casualty it, blow up 3/4 of our opponent's library, and then grab Tasha's Hideous Laughter out of the sideboard with the Fae of Wishes and rip it next turn. We also have Maddening Cacophony if we know we just need 8 cards. If the Cut Your Losses has gotten them down to 8 cards and we just need that, Maddening Cacophony can get us there, which is nice. Unfortunately, Maddening Cacophony can only target your opponents. Actually, it doesn't target at all. It hits each opponent. Same is true with Tasha's. So neither of those, although Tasha's goes to exile anyway, so we wouldn't get any Konrad triggers from it. So Tasha's is off the table as far as plan A is concerned, but it's a valuable, these are valuable plan B considerations. We also have Grafdigger's Cage in the sideboard. This shuts down goblins, this shuts down Coco, it shuts down reanimation strategies, and it shuts down Winota. So we have one in the sideboard. So we can pull it out with Fae of Wishes. That's important. Also note, this is a best of 1 deck. This is only intended for best of 1 so far, hence the 7-card sideboard. If you did want to make a modified version for best of 3, a couple more Grafdiggers so that you can like slot them in and keep one in the sideboard for the Fae of Wishes is probably wise. Just throwing that out there. In the sideboard as well, we have a Meathook Massacre. We also have 2 in the main deck. Meathook Massacre is just a phenomenal board wipe. That's it. When you just need a board wipe, Meathook Massacre does the job just about better than anybody, and it gives us additional pings whenever a creature dies, so that helps kind of eat away at our opponent's life total even before we can get our combo online, or before we can get our main engine online whatsoever. So Meathook Massacre is just absolutely phenomenal. If you're running black, you probably need it. It's really just where it's at. And so I've learned to just run it in my black decks. I also have an Otawara, Soaring City, and Takenuma Abandoned Mire in the sideboard. These perform really critical functions. One, Otawara has an opportunity to buy us some time potentially in the late game, but more importantly, it is a land. More importantly, it is a blue land. If we need a blue land, if we have, say, Konrad on board, and we're stuck on 5 lands, but we have a Fey of Wishes, we can use the Fey of Wishes to grab up Otawara and hit our land drop. Same with Takenuma. The other thing that Takenuma gives us specifically is the mill ability. You can actually mill 3 cards, then return a creature card or from your graveyard to your hand. So you can mill and then draw cards. Or draw a card from your graveyard. So if we have good stuff in our graveyard, like we have a Konrad in our graveyard, but we don't have one on the battlefield, we can grab up Takenuma with Fae of Wishes and go grab up Konrad and potentially put some other goodies in our yard, which is nice. And if we do have Konrad online, Takenuma is a way to help mill ourselves a little bit, which is why we also have one in the main. So we also have an Otawara in the main as well, just because good untapped land. It's just good stuff. We also have 1 Hall of Storm Giants. This is the plan D. You know, I'm not even giving this plan C territory. This is like plan D. The last thing we want to be doing is beating our opponent to death with Hall of Storm Giants. But sometimes it's exactly what you got to do. So we're going to be ready. Other than that, you'll notice that Gaea's Blessing is the only green card we have. However, we do have green in the mana base, pretty well represented. Because if we do have Gaea's Blessing in our early hands, being able to reset our graveyard a little bit or hate on our opponent's graveyard is really valuable. Gaea's Blessing says target player shuffles up to 3 target cards from their graveyard into their library. So if your opponent is playing Is It Phoenix and they faithless looting 2 Phoenixes into their graveyard, you know, on turn 1. On turn 2, you can Gaea's Blessing and shuffle those Phoenixes back into their library and then draw a card. Feels great. Like, it's just a cool use, and I wanted to make sure to have that green mana available early so that we could do stuff like that. Worst case scenario, too, if your opponent's not playing a graveyard strategy and you just have this in the early game, you can just cast it to effectively cycle it and just draw a card. You know, don't target anything, just pay 2, cast it, draw a card. You know, and you just get to move on to the next thing. So Gaea's Blessing is just a really good card, and I wanted to make sure that we had access to the green mana just in case. And in the end, we want to be milling it. So that's the deck. That's the idea. We want to be hitting Cut Your Losses with Konrad down, or take a big hit to the face with an Angel of Suffering down. I've done that a couple of times, and it feels fantastic. But Konrad pings is what it's all about. So let's take this thing out into the ladder, and let's see what we can do. If you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed this deck tech, please like and subscribe. It makes a huge difference to the channel, and I appreciate it very, very much. And yeah, let's see what we can do with it in action. All right, we got Egon in the opening hand, as well as good mana, actually. I think this is a keep. I'm not mad at this. So what I'm planning on doing is shocking in the Watery Grave, so we have access to the Throne of Death on 1. I'm going to Throne of Death on 1, and I want to have the Brazen Borrower up on 2 if we can afford it. Healer's Hawk is interesting. They might be rocking Heliod. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention I'm still getting used to it. Explorer is a wild format right now. There is a lot of weird stuff happening in it, where people are playing with... Cut Your Losses. I'm not mad at that. People are playing with very powerful stuff, where we're seeing cards like Winota and, Voice of the Blessed. Don't love that. Do not love that. You know what, opponent? Just go ahead and pick that up. Pick it up. Where we're seeing Winota or Tybalt's Trickery all of a sudden back in action, doing crazy shenanigans. And meanwhile, we've got other cards that aren't... Well, do we want to... Yeah, I'm going to pay the life here. I don't love it. Don't love it. But we do... That gives us access to the Murderous Rider when Voice of the Blessed comes back down. I'm not feeling like killing Daxos here. Don't get me wrong, I'm down for killing Daxos, but I think I'm going to throw out the Brazen Borrower and they're going to trade with one of the Healer's Hawks. Because the Hawks are the part of the life gain engine right now that fuels what they're doing. Don't love that. Fae of Wishes going to the graveyard, mildly annoying. However, Syr Konrad coming to our hand, not annoying at all. That's actually beautiful. Let's go. All right. So next turn, if we draw into an untapped land, we'll be able to play out the Angel of Suffering, and unless they have removal for it, we are going to be golden. Which is pretty sweet, to the point where I'm actually tempted to activate the Throne of Death just to draw an additional card. Do we want to blast? You know what? I'm actually going to blast Daxos here. It's going to prevent 2 damage that Daxos can swing at us, and Daxos is a life gain engine. So Johnny's Welcome is going to trigger. Voice of the Blessed is going to grow. They're going to attack with the Healer's Hawk. Voice of the Blessed is going to grow. We're going to play out the Angel of Suffering. Hopefully next turn. We'll see. I could have used that. But I could use this even more because I don't want to spend life. Let's go. Now, our opponent has 2 cards in hand. If one of them is a removal, we are going to be sad. If they are not, we are going to be very happy because we have Konrad, Righteous Valkyrie. Go nuts, dude. No, get your team nice and huge. Go for it. I am totally here for it. No blocks. Come on in. Welcome to my face. We're going to be milling. Let's go. We haven't hit a Gaia's Blessing yet, which is fine. That's absolutely fine. Connie's here. Ding, ding, ding. No attacks. We're going to sit back, relax, and enjoy. They're going to play out another Righteous Valkyrie, have another gigantic turn. Their team's absolutely massive, and I kind of hope they swing with all of them. No, they're swinging with the Void. Yeah, that's it. No block. Come on in. This might do it. Or if not, it's going to get really close. So we're going to mill all the cards. Literally all of our cards. All the Konrad triggers. 17 Konrad triggers. Okay, not enough. Not quite. No, nowhere near enough, actually. Ding, ding, ding. Gaia's Blessing shuffles them all back in. More Konrad triggers. 17 more, as a matter of fact. And they scoop it up. Feels good. Feels real good. Because if they didn't have any removal for the Angel, they didn't have any way to kill us there. And we were just going to keep noodling away at them as they swung. And they saw it. We saw it. Life is good. This is exactly what the deck is here to do. So let's move on to the next game. I don't love having 2 Gaia's Blessings in the opening hand. That's kind of a bummer, but we have Connie and the Angel, which is awesome. And the one Gaia's Blessing can shuffle in the other Gaia's Blessing back into our library, so it's not the end of the world. And we've got 3 lands. 3 lands is a good place to be, one of which can produce green, so, you know, could be a lot worse. Could be a lot worse. And they're running red. Don't love that. Reinforced Ronin, yeah, they're going to be blitzing pretty hard at us. I mean, not literally blitzing, but they're going to be attacking very quickly at us. And that is potentially problematic. So I'm going to cast a Gaia's Blessing here, targeting ourselves. Submitting 0, drawing a card. Malevolent Hermit is decent. It can tangle with the Reinforced Ronin, which is nice. Yeah, actually, that's really nice. I like that. I cast the Anvil. Don't love that. Do not love that. Ooh, notably, the Oni called Anvil deals damage. It is not life loss. The reason that that is notable is because the Angel of Suffering only cares about damage. It doesn't interact with life loss at all. So that's pretty freaking rad, if you ask me. All right, so we're going to actually shock this in. Shiggity shock. And I'm going to play out the Murderous Rider. I want to get that lifelink on board. I think that's going to be very valuable for us. And then next turn we can throw out the Overgrown Tomb, not shock it in, and play out the Malevolent Hermit and have access to pop it if necessary. Let's see, they're going to cast out the Reinforced Ronin, probably just sack it to the Anvil, because if they attack into us, they're going to be gaining us life. Yeah, they move past combat. Oh, they just bounce it to create the little homie. That's interesting. All right. Whenever one of our artifacts you control leaves the battlefield. I thought it was a destroy trigger. My bad. Interesting. Okay. Didn't expect that. That was kind of cool. Not gonna lie. All right. So Malevolent Hermit is now live and online with the ability to sacrifice to do the thing. So we can mana leak one of their non-creature spells. Feels pretty good. I like that. And we have the Murderous Rider down so we can attack. They can chump block all day. I kind of don't. Well, if they can chump block, then sacrifice the construct. We don't get the lifelink damage. And they ping us for 1. It's fine. We're still at 16. We're about to hit 5 mana next turn with Angel of Suffering and Syr Konrad in hand. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. Ooh, they Deadly Dispute. All right. You know what? I'm going to crack this. I don't want them drawing these cards. I do not want them drawing those cards. I do not want them creating those treasure tokens. So I am going to crack the Malevolent Hermit here. Now, we don't get our lifelink here, but we do shut down a pretty important piece of their engine. So that could have been worse. That could have been a lot worse. Dragon Spark Reactor with the Reinforced Ronin in hand. That's not a bad place to be. That's not a bad place to be. Notably, though, the Dragon Spark Reactor also deals damage. It can kill, however. The Dragon Spark Reactor does have the ability to kill our Angel, which could really suck. To say the least, if I'm honest. That's okay. Cut your losses with the Murderous Rider down. That's rad. Let's go. Angel of Suffering, get out here. Now, if they have something like a Voltage Surge, they could get rid of the Angel, which would hurt pretty badly. But, to be honest, them hitting the Angel is kind of the least of our worries, because Konrad is really the key piece that needs to survive. And with Cut Your Losses down, we can even casualty using the Murderous Rider, which is pretty great. So I'm hoping we draw into a land here. That would be pretty decent. Gingerbrute. Ooh, Gingerbrute with Sticky Fingers. Nice. Actually, I like Sticky Fingers here. I think that's a really cool aura. So when the enchanted creature dies, you draw a card, which is nice. Alright, Malevolent Syr Konrad. Sure. Oh, but the damage is prevented, so they don't make the treasure token. Let's go. Alright. It says whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you create a treasure token. But because the damage is prevented, no treasure token is created. Life is good. They're going to sacrifice the construct to deal a little bit of damage to our face, buff up the reactor, we mill a couple Brazen Borrowers. Not ideal, but not the end of the world. We're going to be fine. Another Angel. Let's go. Konrad, I choose you. So we got Syr Konrad online. I'm attacking with the team. Hopefully get him for 5 damage in the air. They don't have the ability to activate the reactor just yet. Next turn, they'll be able to sack it and deal, what, 6 damage to something as well as our face. They'll probably go after Connie, which frankly is the right answer. They should. If they go after the Angel, though, we're going to be golden. But they're probably going to pop the reactor. Yeah, they do go after the Angel. Okay, so this does set us back a little bit. Now, the damage from the Angel does trigger, which is nice. So we get all the Connie triggers, which is pretty great. We didn't hit a Gaia's Blessing in there. Interesting. Okay. I mean, I suppose we have one in graveyard and one in hand, so I shouldn't be too surprised. Now they're coming in. They want that. They really want that treasure. And they get it. I believe that's the Maestro's treasure as well, which is kind of neat. But it's post-combat, so Reinforced Ronin is just going to be another creature leaving the battlefield. I believe this is going to win us the game. Check it. We're going to cut your losses, sacrificing the Murderous Rider to casualty. And we get 1 Konrad ping there. Cut your losses is going to copy, targeting ourselves once more. You love to see it. All the Connie triggers. And that's going to be enough. Got him. Alright, we have Konrad in the opening hand alongside Fey of Wishes. That actually gives me a lot of hope. Not to mention the Murderous Rider and 4 lands. We are kind of opening ourselves up to get flooded here, which would bite the big one. Not going to lie. They're going to Thoughtseize us. Oof. I think if I'm in their position, I'm probably going to go for the Fae of Wishes because it offers up the most possibility. Because, I mean, when you see Fae of Wishes, you know you're going up against a combo deck. It's just part of the deal. Fae of Wishes is designed to fetch up combo pieces. Yep, they hit it. I can't blame them. We draw into a Triome. Sure. All right, but that said, they shocked in a land and then hit Thoughtseize, so they're starting with 16 health. I'm not mad at that. That gives us some room to work. Malevolent Hermit. That's actually a fine draw for us. I'm going to go ahead and play the Swamp. Put out the Hermit. See, they do have an opportunity here to counter this if they so choose, or to bounce the Hermit when it hits the field. They are going to consider the following. They mill away an Ixalan's Binding. Interesting. Okay. So they're an Esper. Yeah, there's the Hallowed Fountain, and they let it come into play tapped. Interesting. Very interesting. Intriguing. I'm going to go ahead and shock this in so that we have the Murderous Rider up. I'm going to chip in for 2 with the Malevolent Hermit. But now we have Connie and the Cut Your Losses. This is looking good. This is looking good, although I would really love to get a Benevolent Geist up and running here in short order if we could. I'm going to play out the Breeding Pool tapped. But I'll be honest, the thing about the Benevolent Geist is if our opponent's running counterspells, settle. You're seriously going to settle me? You know what? I actually really want the Malevolent Hermit in our graveyard. I want the Malevolent Hermit in our graveyard, so I'm actually going to counter this. Like, the ramp is nice, but If we don't counter it, the Hermit goes to exile. Tough. Okay. Yeah, Teferi Hero Dominaria, phenomenal card. No surprise. Yeah, it's just great. It's just great, and as a result, I'm going to attempt to remove Tef. And it resolves with no delay. That's nice. That means they don't have a 2-mana counter. I'm glad to see that. Excellent. Excellent. With a side of excellent. All right, I'm going to shock this in case of Jawari Disruption, and then attempt to cast Syr Konrad. Now, I will be shocked if this resolves. Absolutely shocked. But hey, I'd like to be shocked sometimes. Excellent! It does. Woohoo! Let's go. Throne of Death. I choose you. We're tapping out for this. A little bit dangerous, potentially. Now, we can disturb... they're going to absorb our throne to gain a little bit of life. All right. But that puts a creature card into our grave. No! Eldest Reborn. I did not expect to see that today. That's the thing, man. Pioneer has got some weird stuff going on. And I got... or not Pioneer. Sorry. Explorer, which will someday hopefully become Pioneer. I'm enjoying... well, I mean, it will be, according to the plan. But I'm enjoying it. Not gonna lie. I've been enjoying Explorer quite a bit. It's and this kind of a weird, janky, like, Dimir, quasi-Sultai Konrad thing is viable. Like, it works, which is kind of crazy when you really stop and think about it. But I'm here for it. I'm actually really jazzed about it. Not gonna lie. All right, so they have 41 cards in their library. So I guess the question is upon us. Is it time to enact Plan B? Yeah, that is the question. So they're probably going to grab up Tef. Put it on the battlefield, sure. Like you do. We're sitting with a Murderous Rider back, so they'll uptick Tef once. And before they draw that card, we're going to cast the Murderous Rider. Benevolent Geist means that Murderous Rider cannot be countered. Dope. You'll love to see that red, like, that little red aura around it. Feels good. Because while Murderous Rider is a creature, Swift End is actually an instant. So this is an instant spell that we're casting. So they want to counter this really, really badly, but unless they have a bounce or a kill spell for the Benevolent Geist, they cannot. And that's nice. They're going to Sinister Sabotage. Whoosh, Benevolent Geist with that the red shame aura. Nope. Not happening. Boom. Tef is off the field once more. Let's go. Murderous Rider bringing that Teferi to a Swift End. You'll love to see it. They're going to cast down our Murderous Rider, sure. He's going to shuffle back into our library. Or not, he's going to go onto the bottom of our library, which is fine. They do get to untap some lands here. Mildly problematic, but not the end of the world. We're going to throw out another Murderous Rider. Let's go. Man, Benevolent Guy's getting some work done over here. They're going to absorb our Murderous Rider. Okay, fair enough. They're going to gain a little bit of life. We're going to chip in a little bit. We got the Brazen Borrower back, just in case. They have the Wandering Emperor. Let's see what they go for. They're probably going to exile the Benevolent Geist. That thing's a beast in this matchup. All right, that's fine. And one thing that we could do here is cast out the Brazen Borrower. We could bounce the Wandering Emperor, but frankly, that would just reload it, and I really don't want to do that. So instead, what I'm going to do is cast out the Borrower itself, which we can then attack into the Wandering Emperor. Which seems cool by me. Now, with the Fey of Wishes here, with Konrad nowhere to be seen, I think the time has come to initiate Plan B. So we're going to cut our opponent's losses. Casualty 2, they have an opportunity. They're going to counter the first one, but we do still get a copy. All right, so we're going to be milling half their library. They're down to 19 cards. They're down to 19 cards, and they got some decent sized stuff. So the Tasha's might not be enough here anymore. Which is mildly problematic, but we did strip them of a lot of resources, so that's something. Now, they do have a Chemist's Insight in the bin as well, which I don't love. They're going to discard a Vanishing Verse. Okay. Yeah, I'm not giving them too much to deal with that, except for Konrad. I mean, Konrad's a thing. Down to 14 and they're tabbed out here. Tabbed out? Tapped out. All right, we're going for it. Give me that Tashes. Let's take the shot. Yes! We got him. Woo! All right. Plan B mill worked. Let's go! All right. That was fantastic. I'm actually really excited right now, not gonna lie. So those were 3 games with this deck. I gotta say, I'm loving this deck. It is a lot of fun. It works. It's effective. Like there, we went up against Azorius Control and won. We went up against Anvil, Rakdos Anvil, and won. And we went up against Mono White Life Gain and won. I gotta say, I'm proud of this deck. I'm feeling good about it. This is definitely going to be one of my ladder decks. If you'd like to see this deck in action more, come out to twitch.tv/hamhawks42. I stream there Monday through Friday, starting at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we go till about 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every weekday, Monday through Friday. So if you want to see this deck in action, also, one weekly event that we do on our channel is what I call Fight Me Friday, which is on Fridays, you can actually challenge me to a best of 1 duel for no channel points, no monetary donation, no nothing. You just raise your hand, jump in line, and you can actually choose if you'd like to go up against this deck and see if your Explorer deck can take it down. That is an option. So you just let me know that this is the deck you want to see. So thank you so much for hanging out. I appreciate you, and thank you for making it to the end. Makes a huge difference. So if you wouldn't mind liking and subscribing, doing all the YouTube things, I'd appreciate it very, very much. And I will catch you on the next one.